What if I told you that there's a collection of ancient principles that explain how the entire universe works? Principles so profound that they've influenced everyone from Isaac Newton to Nikola Tesla, yet remain hidden from most people today. Welcome to the Kybalion, a mysterious text that claims to contain the fundamental laws governing reality itself. Published in 1908 by the Three Initiates, this book presents 7 Hermetic principles that allegedly come from Hermes Trismegistus, the legendary figure known as the father of all wisdom. Today, we're going to unlock these ancient secrets and discover how they can transform your understanding of life, consciousness, and the very nature of reality. The first principle, mentalism. The foundation of all Hermetic philosophy begins with one revolutionary idea. The all is mind, the universe is mental. This principle suggests that everything in existence, from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy, originates from one infinite living mind. Physical reality, according to this teaching, is essentially a mental creation of this universal consciousness. Think about this for a moment. In your own experience, you create entire worlds in your dreams that feel completely real while you're dreaming them. You imagine scenarios in your mind that trigger real emotional and even physical responses. The principle of mentalism suggests that our entire physical universe operates on a similar principle, but on an infinitely grander scale. This doesn't mean physical reality is just in your head, or that you can simply think your way into changing the laws of physics. Rather, it suggests that mind and consciousness are the fundamental substrate from which all of reality emerges. Modern quantum physics has begun to hint at similar ideas, suggesting that consciousness plays a fundamental role in the collapse of quantum wave functions. The second principle, correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. This is perhaps the most famous Hermetic principle, and it reveals the incredible interconnectedness of all existence. What happens on one level of reality corresponds to what happens on every other level. The patterns you see in your personal relationships mirror the patterns governing planetary movements. The way atoms orbit around a nucleus reflects how planets orbit around stars. The structure of your nervous system resembles the branching patterns of rivers, lightning, and even the cosmic web of galaxies. This principle suggests that by understanding one level of reality, you can gain insight into all others. Ancient alchemists used this principle to understand that transforming base metals into gold was really about transforming the base elements of human consciousness into spiritual gold. In practical terms, this means that the external circumstances of your life correspond to your internal state of being. Change your inner world, and your outer world begins to shift in accordance. This isn't mystical thinking. It's recognizing that your perception, decisions, and actions all flow from your internal state and shape your external reality. The third principle, vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. Modern science has confirmed what ancient Hermetic philosophers knew thousands of years ago. Everything in the universe is in constant motion. Even what appears solid and still is actually composed of atoms and subatomic particles moving at incredible speeds. But the principle of vibration goes deeper than just physical movement. It suggests that everything, including thoughts, emotions, and consciousness itself, exists as different rates of vibration. Love vibrates at a different frequency than fear. Anger resonates differently than peace. Joy operates on a different wavelength than depression. This principle explains how different states of consciousness can literally attract different experiences into your life. When you consistently vibrate at the frequency of gratitude, you become attuned to opportunities and experiences that match that vibration. When you operate from the frequency of scarcity and fear, you tend to notice and attract experiences that confirm those vibrations. Understanding vibration gives you tremendous power. By consciously choosing your thoughts, emotions, and mental states, you're essentially tuning yourself to different frequencies of experience. This is the scientific basis behind practices like meditation, affirmations, and mindfulness. The fourth principle, polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. This principle reveals that opposites are actually two extremes of the same thing. Hot and cold are both degrees of temperature. Love and hate are both expressions of emotional intensity. Light and darkness are different degrees of illumination. The principle of polarity explains why you can't have up without down, success without failure, or joy without the possibility of sorrow. These aren't separate, conflicting forces. They're different points on the same spectrum. This understanding transforms how you handle life's challenges. When you're experiencing the negative pole of any situation, you can recognize that the positive pole exists within the same experience. The key is learning to transmute your position on that spectrum. Ancient alchemists called this mental transmutation, the ability to transform unwanted mental states into desired ones. You do this not by fighting against the negative pole, but by consciously moving your attention and energy toward the positive pole of the same spectrum. For example, instead of fighting against fear, you move toward courage, which is simply fear transformed. Instead of battling sadness, you gradually shift toward the natural joy that exists on the other end of that emotional spectrum. The fifth principle, rhythm. Everything flows, out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. Life operates in cycles. Day follows night. Seasons change in predictable patterns. Civilizations rise and fall. Your energy levels, moods, and life circumstances all follow rhythmic patterns. The principle of rhythm teaches you to work with these natural cycles rather than against them. When you understand that low periods are naturally followed by high periods, you stop panicking during temporary setbacks. When you recognize that high periods will eventually cycle into quieter phases, you learn to appreciate and prepare for both. This principle also explains the law of compensation, the idea that the universe tends to balance itself. If you experience an extreme in one direction, life will eventually swing you toward the other extreme to restore equilibrium. The wise person learns to moderate these swings by maintaining balance and not getting too attached to either extreme. In practical terms, this means learning to ride the rhythms of your life rather than fighting them. When you're in a productive phase, use that energy wisely. When you're in a reflective or quiet phase, honor that rhythm instead of forcing activity. When you align with natural rhythms, life becomes much more effortless. The sixth principle: cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Nothing in the universe happens by chance. Every event, no matter how small or seemingly random, is the result of specific causes. This principle extends beyond physical causation to include mental and spiritual causation. Your thoughts are causes that create effects in your mental state, which then influence your actions, which create effects in your external world. Your beliefs cause you to perceive and interpret experiences in particular ways, which affects how you respond to life. Understanding cause and effect gives you incredible power because it means you can become a conscious cause rather than just an unconscious effect. Instead of simply reacting to whatever happens to you, you can choose to initiate causes that will create the effects you desire. This doesn't mean you control everything that happens to you. There are countless other causes operating in the universe. But it does mean that by becoming conscious of the causes you're setting in motion through your thoughts, emotions, and actions, you gain significant influence over the effects you experience. Most people live as effects. They react to their circumstances, other people's moods, random events, and external conditions. The Hermetic student learns to live as a cause, consciously choosing thoughts, emotions, and actions that will generate desired outcomes. The seventh principle: gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. This final principle doesn't refer to biological gender, but to the universal creative forces that operate throughout all of existence. The masculine principle represents the active, projective, creative force. The feminine principle represents the receptive, nurturing, gestating force. Creation requires both principles working in harmony. The masculine principle provides the initial creative impulse, the idea, the vision, the spark. The feminine principle receives that impulse and nurtures it into manifestation, developing, refining, and bringing forth the creation. In your own consciousness, you have both principles operating. Your masculine aspect generates ideas, makes decisions, takes action, and projects your will into the world. Your feminine aspect receives experiences, processes emotions, develops intuition, and gestates new possibilities. Most people are overdeveloped in one principle and underdeveloped in the other. Some people are all action and projection, but lack the receptive qualities needed to actually develop their ideas into mature creations. Others are highly receptive and intuitive, but struggle to take decisive action in the world. Mastery comes from balancing and integrating both principles within yourself, learning when to be active and when to be receptive, when to push forward and when to allow things to unfold, when to generate and when to nurture. These 7 principles work together as an integrated system for understanding and working with the fundamental laws of existence. They're not just philosophical concepts to think about. they're practical tools for transforming your experience of life. The principle of mentalism reminds you that consciousness is fundamental to reality. Correspondence shows you that changing your inner world changes your outer world. Vibration teaches you to consciously choose your mental and emotional frequency. Polarity helps you transmute unwanted states into desired ones. Rhythm guides you to work with life's natural cycles rather than against them. Cause and effect empowers you to become a conscious creator rather than an unconscious reactor. And gender teaches you to balance the active and receptive forces within your own consciousness. These aren't just ancient ideas, they're timeless principles that remain as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. Whether you're interested in personal development, spiritual growth, or simply understanding how life works, the Kybalion offers a profound framework for navigating existence with wisdom and intention. The universe operates according to precise laws. The more you understand and align with these laws, the more you can participate consciously in the ongoing creation of reality itself. I share timeless wisdom like this every week, drawn from ancient texts, philosophy, and the deeper layers of consciousness. Subscribe and join the journey.